So here's a question for you. Would you benefit from ongoing support to improve your sales conversations and ultimately close more business? The Sales Maven Society offers you daily support for your urgent sales questions, an extensive library of bite-sized trainings to hone your selling skills, and monthly live coaching calls where you receive individualized coaching from me specific to your business so that you're able to remove any bottlenecks in your sales process. This is the most robust sales coaching program around for an incredible value of only $147 a month. And you can join now for your first month for only $47. You get access to absolutely everything, including the live coaching calls with me. Come check it out and see if this is the place for you to really elevate your business to the next level. You can do this by going to yoursalesmaven.com/society, hit the join now button. And then when it takes you to that page, enter this code, the number 4, the number 7, and the word trial, TRIAL. So 47 trial, all one word, and you'll be a member. I can't wait to see you in there. Now, here's the podcast.
Do sales conversations make you feel awkward or pushy? It's time to ditch the outdated salesy strategies. Your guide, Nikki Rausch, will show you how to combine kindness with selling skills to meet your prospects where they are, and in the process, how to up-level your influence and income. Learn how to earn business easily and effortlessly. Here's Nikki.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Sales Maven Show. I'm your host, Nikki Rausch. Today's episode is a part of the Mastering Excellence series. This is a concept that comes from my background in neurolinguistic programming, where we learn there is a structure to excellence. Once you understand the structure of how somebody is achieving exceptional results in some area of their life or business, you can then take that structure, apply it to your own life and business so that you can get similar results. Today's guest, I'm so excited, is Erin Brown. Now, if you don't know Erin yet, let me tell you a little bit about her. She, as the CEO of her own company, Hot Red Carpet, Erin works as a speaker, a host, a facilitator, and a confidence coach, helping individuals and groups step into their spotlight. Her services include Survey Says, which is a high-energy, fun, and fast-paced team bonding game hosted by Erin, Building Your Red Carpet Confidence, which is interactive group teaching sessions, the Hot Red Carpet Live, which is the welcome committee capturing live red carpet interviews with VIPs, aka all event attendees, speaker appearances, and one-on-one confidence coaching. With over 20 years of comedy experience, paired with her time working in the corporate world, Erin understands the need for people to connect, feel valued, play, and be uplifted. Stress causes 80% of illness, so all of Erin's work centers on increasing the levity of any occasion and adding value that feels good. Clients on her roster include, it's a huge roster, I'm just going to name a few, United Airlines, Pfizer, NetScout, and Foundation Medicine. She encourages everyone to stop and notice the daily red carpet moments. Erin Brown, welcome to the show, friend.
Thank you. Good to see you, Nikki.
Good to
with
see
two Ks.
Exactly. I am so happy to get to have this conversation with you. I will say we're new friends. We got asked to be on a panel discussion for a podcast, I don't know, a couple months ago now. And she did some things on during the panel discussion that made me giggle, to the point where I was muting myself because you're funny, my friend. You are funny and so charming. It just oozes out of you. And we ended up having a great conversation offline later. And I've become a fan. So thank you for saying yes to being here.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you for this invitation, and right back at you. I feel like we're new friends, but old friends in a way. We just kind of got each other on the same wavelength. So anyone who laughs at my shenanigans, I'm like, yep. They get it. This is all crazy.
I think the first thing you did is I think we were talking about making a powerful first impression. And I gave this example about being on camera and not like doing the duck lips and like fixing your lips and stuff. And just at that moment, Erin, she pulls out her lip gloss and she starts doing it right into the camera. And it was everything I had in me to keep it together because it was just so like your timing. I mean, obviously, you have a background in comedy. Tell us a little bit about
Wait,
that
hold on.
as she's putting on lipstick.
Am I on? Okay, wait, do we start? All right. No, sorry. I won't be on. You bring it out and I will say that. Like you definitely bring
I
out the
love the
goof.
playful side.
Yeah, it's my
I love
main
people
side.
who are playful.
It's my best side.
It's
Um,
your great side.
yeah. I'm sorry. What was the question? Something about comedy.
Your background in comedy.
Yes, my background in comedy. It goes back a long time. Since I was a kid, I would say truly that I come from a pretty funny family and I have it in me. I'm the youngest of five kids. So there's that. And I'm definitely not the funniest one in my family, extended wise. Like I've got a million cousins who are Irish and all that jazz. And I formally, I guess, started doing comedy in college when I began doing improv comedy. And I actually I went to a workshop and then I tried out for the show. And it was such a natural fit. I literally was like, oh, there's a method, there's a structure to everything I've already been doing naturally, where my siblings were knocking on the bathroom door, like, who are you talking to in there? I'm like, doing my work. So yeah, so that's kind of how I guess my formal training, if you want to call it that, which it is actually training because there's a lot of it, but naturally, I grew up with a sense of humor. So hopefully everybody has a sense of humor. I don't think everyone's funny, but I do think everyone likes to laugh as a human.
I think so too. I mean, I actually love to laugh. It's probably one of my favorite emotions, obviously, but yeah, it's like, and especially people who make me laugh. Like I just want to be around people like you all the time because you just have that something extra. Now we didn't talk about, and it's not the topic of the actual podcast itself, and we'll get to that, I promise. But would you tell us a little bit about your red carpet and how you got started with that? Because I think it's such an interesting, clever. I also love about you that you're clever. And I admire people who are clever. I wish that someday somebody would describe me as clever. And I don't think it's ever going to happen, but I love people who are clever. So no setup there. But would you tell us a little bit?
I want to go there, by the way. Like you don't think you're clever? You've never done anything clever in your life.
I don't know. I don't know that it's like, I don't think clever is one of my strengths, I will say.
Clever. It's such a good word. Clever. Clever.
Yeah.
So the red carpet. Yes. So I am originally from the East Coast. I grew up in New Jersey. Then I lived in New York City. We grew up in the burbs outside of that. And that's where I did comedy professionally. I did stand up and improv and sketch. And I was playing the whole acting showbiz game there. And then I switched to Los Angeles. And when I got to LA, there were so many award shows, and there's so many on television as well, but it just seemed like everywhere I was, there was just an award show and then another award show about that award show kind of thing. And then an award show making fun of the award show that's making fun of the award shows. And, it was like a Russian doll. And so I just thought, it just came to me in a vision. I just had this idea, like I want to create my own red carpet. And so I went to, I think, Tuesday mornings, or, I don't know, maybe it was Ross for Less, where I bought my first my red carpet, which essentially was a red bath mat. And I had a friend she's like, I've got a really bad red dress you could wear. I was in a Valentine's Day wedding. So I'm like, perfect. So I called my friend who was a videographer at the time. And this was a while ago. This is like 2005, just to put it into context. This is before there was such a thing as a YouTube star or Instagram even, And so anyway, it was a Monday afternoon. I called my buddy. I'm like, what are you doing? Can we go to Hollywood Boulevard? So we went to what was then called the Kodak Theater. It is now, I think, the Dolby. It's changed, but it's where the Academy Awards are. And so I just took my red carpet, and it was like 4:00 on an afternoon, and we threw it down, and I just started interviewing passerbys, like who were, regular Joe Blow visiting town, as if they were at the Academy Awards. And I asked the same question. I was like, welcome to the red carpet. You look amazing. Who are you wearing? Are you nervous? So that was literally how it all began. Just to be just as a goof to one video. That was it. That was the plan, was one video. And I had this whole caricature kind of behind it as Erin Brown, that is my, but it's like this. I don't know if you remember the show Ab Fab, Absolutely Fabulous.
I don't remember that show.
It was some I think it might've been on the BBC, and they're like these two older, I guess cougars. And they were like drunk ladies, and they just thought they were like bigger than they really were. And so I had this, she was sort of this, she thought she had a whole, I'm an actress. So I had a whole well, this is her thing. And everybody knows her. And, and I lived in a trailer park at the time, no joke, by the beach. And it was in the Palisades, which is very hoity-toity, but I was like, oh, Tom Hanks lives in Palisades, but I live in the trailer park. So yeah, this was I will say it was a funny video. And that was how it started. And a friend said, hey, you should do that again. And I thought he was crazy. I didn't understand why I would do the same joke again, because it had been done, and he challenged me. And about a year later, I did it. And I went to the Greek festival in Los Angeles, and I lucked out, and I got Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson on my little red carpet. Same dress, crazy hairdo. And they were cracking up, and they really appreciated the humor behind it. Because I think really, Nikki, when I think about it, the thought behind it all was we all deserve the red carpet treatment. Just because you made a movie or you did this or that, you get this whole grand entrance. And the red carpet, of course, has been around for centuries. It goes way back, the royals and the gods. And I've had to do a little research. I didn't do it then. It was just instinct. Let me buy this literal red carpet and see what happens.
I love this story so much. I love that it was a bath mat. I love that you got Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson to stand on it, and you got to interview them. And from there, you built a business. You took this, and now it's come into, a version of what your business is. I know, of course, your business has expanded significantly, and now what you're doing, but this idea of now you're interviewing people in that, letting people have this experience at events and things like that, where they get to come and you're there, you're doing it. It's amazing.
Yeah. Thanks.
I love it.
It's been a long road, I will say. It's I didn't do it for all those years. I did it for a while, and then I realized, when I had those celebrities on it, I was like, oh, I think I am onto something. And thank you to my friend who said, do it again. And so then the irony of that was I got asked to cover an event, which was what? I'm making fun of this. You want me to show up with my red carpet and interview people? I'm not a journalist, and I was they have all these parties before the award shows. So it was an Emmy gifting suite, and it was free stuff for people who don't need it. Come on down, and they have a big step and repeat is what they call those things, where you stand on. So yeah. So that was my first one that I covered, and I thought she's either going to love me or she's going to hate me. And when I sent her the final, she was like, oh my God, you can come to all my events. And then I thought, I was using it as a vehicle to sort of get into late night television. But people along the way kept asking me, hey, can you show up at my, book signing or this or that in this event? And finally I'm like, I'm not a charity. Do you guys have a budget? So I did one wedding, and then I did another wedding. But again, I didn't fully do it as a business, that part of it, until 2018. So it was a really long time.
But so interesting. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for sharing all, because sometimes what, could be something you had to have gone through that experience, right? To get to a place where in 2018, you take this idea, you revamp it, and you turn it into something that now people pay you big bucks for, which
it's true. Well deserved,
yeah. Right?
Thanks.
So yeah, I love it. It's brilliant.
Thanks.
So this
some
is
people call it clever.
It is. Yeah. Some people do call it clever.
I don't know why I said that.
Because you're funny. Because you are clever. That's why. Okay, so we are going to talk about, the topic today is how to bring humor into your work, because this, I feel like, is one of your core competencies. It's one of your unconscious competencies. It's the thing that makes you, but I want to dig into it a little bit, because I think there are many of us who struggle with how to bring humor into our work. Some people are, it's oh yeah, I've got it. I do it easily. And then there's those of us that are I'm not really sure the fine line. So I want to ask you how you do it. So my first question for you is, if I got to stand in for you for a day, so I get to think like you, behave like you, I get to be Erin really for a day, and I step into your shoes, what's the first thing I have to think about, or how do I have to behave to really show up in this way that I can bring humor into my work?
Of course, right away, I like want to give a smart ass comment, but
Please go ahead. All
all I was
smart ass
going to
comments
say
are
was
welcome.
good luck.
Yeah.
I welcome it. It's funny. I've seen people imitate me. They'll be like, this is you. Like they look crazy. And I'm like, oh, so you're saying I'm a cartoon. Okay. Like I get it. I'm a very animated person. Like I have a good friends of mine, and they have this dog who was a rescue. Her name is Hazel. She's a little crazy, and now I call her Crazel. So does everyone else. But I'll just be in their kitchen, like, so I went downtown, and all of a sudden Crazel's like, "Blah!" I'm like, I'm literally just talking. I'm telling a story. So not like I'm always gigantic, but I would say I'm definitely not consciously, I'm just animated. So there you go. But I would say the first thing is to get back to your question, is to be present. I think that's what it's all about. And that is so helpful in any situation to literally, I say, be where your feet are. And because when you're present too, you are fully aware, and it's not always easy because our mind is like, dun, 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 but making an effort. So I meditate. I have like I have some, I also have the luxury of, I don't have children. I have a pretty free lifestyle. So, take what you can from this. But I definitely have a little bit of a slow start to the morning. Like I take some time in the morning to sort of set my day. So, and I don't look at my phone right away, because I feel like that's going to be there all day long, and that's going to easily influence. So kind of just to get grounded and centered. It's not really hilarious,
No,
but I'm
that's
telling
okay.
you,
Yeah, I love what you're telling us.
it's like you get, yeah. I have a little journal. I do the 5-minute journal, and it's really easy because it prompts you. It just takes 5 minutes a day, hence the name. And you write down, there's a quote at the top of the page, which is usually, inspirational. And you write down 3 things you're grateful for, and 3 things that you would like to see transpire. Like what would make your day magnificent? And then you write down an affirmation. So, you could say, I am radiant, or I am abundant, or whatever. It doesn't have to even be an I am statement. It could be, if you're thinking about trying to bring in more money comes to me effortlessly, or comes to me and through me effortlessly. That's what I've often used. And that's kind of just sort of like to set the tone, sit for, however long, 10 minutes. I definitely feel like it helps you if you're not a meditator. And if you need to listen, there's so many different ways to meditate. You can listen to music. I've been just sitting in silence, which is like, well, but it's so hardcore. Like, you're such a badass meditator. You just sit there. It's like, yep. But it is, when you think about it, it is a bit of like a discipline. But, also I'll go for a beach walk or whatever, just to kind of get that. So if you have that luxury, or just make time for yourself to just sort of like, and then, look at your schedule and figure out what you want. But yeah, the presence thing is big. So whether I'm on, like even tonight before our call, I makeup, and it's so funny because when I teach my confidence workshop, I give a lot of like preparation is the main thing. There's so many things that we can do to prepare ourselves. You don't have to do all of them. It's kind of take what works for you, make it your little prep kit. So then it's just a natural routine. So I was doing tongue twisters in the mirror because I haven't been on a ton of calls today. So I was like, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, like just like an idiot. And what else? Connecting with people. I mean, I always, make eye contact, and you're like fully listening to them. And I try to listen, I always say, listen with your ears and listen with your heart, and listen. There's so many ways to listen. And that's the key to it, because when you're really present and listening, then you can respond to whoever is, whoever has your attention. So you can really be there for them. And I just kind of set my day. Oh, I usually have like a cold brew or some sort of caffeinated beverage. And I don't know why I'm telling you my morning routine, but you asked
what you're doing is perfect. Yeah, that's it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much goodness that you gave us.
A lot of playfulness. Like it just, I try to remember that, like, I don't know, just yes, there's always going to be challenges and whatnot. That's life, but I try to just embrace it. Some days I'm better at it than others, but I definitely try to face things with a playful attitude. Yeah.
So I love that. So tell me more about this idea of face things with a playful attitude. What would
Mhm.
be an example of that?
Mm. So funny because I don't always do it. Like it's funny because of course I'm like, oh, you didn't do it earlier when you were doing that one thing. I think it's like being open to like let's say you're going to get into a situation where you're like, or you have maybe anxiety about it, or you're trying to, if it's, a business call and you're trying to like close that deal, it's just like, okay, that's fine. That's all information and that's real. But like also maybe take a breath. Breathing is so essential and we can do it all the time. It's so easy. And just kind of like, okay, what if this is just a game? Like what can I find? What can be fun about this? And even if it's someone who's super annoying, like I bet that person's going to do that thing that he always does, it's like make a game of it for yourself, perhaps. I always try to open up with a smile because it just literally like fake it till you make it. If your body's doing it, it can kind of follow suit and participate. Like if you're going to, I've learned because so many times I would half-ass things or, especially, or today it's so easy to like be on a call, but also be checking my phone or be multitasking. And it's like, when you're multitasking, then just give your all. Like we have an hour together today, for example. So like, let's just be here, instead of like challenge yourself to just not look at the other stuff. Cause there's so much here that you might miss if you're looking at other things. So I think that that's definitely part of it. And so like today I was on this mastermind call and we were talking about sales and then she's like, let's do role plays. And, at first I was like, oh, I don't want to do that, because it's bringing up all my own stuff, and it actually was so beneficial and so helpful. And then when someone else needed someone, it wasn't just because I like to play roles, but like, of course I kind of infused humor because I can't help it, Nikki.
I know. It's just who you are. That's why we're talking about
it
this.
Also it helped the girl because she's trying to like break into this new market. And so who would be her ideal customer? I'm like, would it be this kind of person? And she's like, totally. So I just totally played the role, and it was so much fun because I'm like, that was something that I'm like, I don't know if I have an hour and a half today to do this call. I'm like, just show up, be of service. How can you help the person that's here? So I think long-winded, it's more like just if you're going to decide to show up somewhere, be all or nothing, just show up. And the playfulness is kind of like, sometimes things are going to be boring, but sometimes then I'm just like, what's funny about this? Or maybe it's just not everything's hilarious, but maybe because you're present, you learn like, maybe I don't need to show up for this call every week, or depends.
Okay, so I just want to make a couple comments on some of the brilliance that you've shared. So some of the things that I'm writing notes while you're talking, but some of the stuff that I think is important to just comment on is this idea of, in order to really show up with this place from a place of humor, bringing humor into your work and also being playful about it, you have to be present. And in order to be present, it does probably require you to really prepare for your day. So you talked about your morning routine. So I love that. And then this idea of being playful, that means you have to listen with your ears and with your heart so that you can actually respond from a place of being present. And then I like that you ask yourself, what can be fun about this? One of the things I do often is I'm always looking for a story that I can then retell later in my work. So I'm always like, what's the story here? So I love that you just gave this like, what can be fun about this? Because that's such a great real strategy for people to show up and ask yourself, like, what can be fun about this? I like to also be amused. So most of the time I'm looking for like, how can I be amused, whether everybody else is or not? Like, that's another thing.
That. That's right on target.
And that you make a game of it. And you said you always open with a smile, which of course I think is super brilliant. And then I want to really highlight that you stress this, but I want to make sure that everybody takes this away, is that you have to participate. And it can be easy or safe to sit back and just be the person who's on the sidelines. But if you really want to get in the game, if you really want to bring humor into your work, playfulness into your work, and can really truly connect and make an impression, you have to participate.
Absolutely. And yeah. And sometimes it's get over yourself, like just you showed up, turn your camera on. Like that could be the participation,
Oh, please. Yes.
Just turn your camera
on
on.
your camera.
Right.
Yes.
And because also think about too, what would help you in that kind of situation, maybe put yourself in that person's shoes and do a little reverse psychology or whatever, what could help them. And yeah, there was something else that you brought up that was such a good point that I can't remember now. Maybe it'll come back to me.
Okay. Well, these were your points, so they're brilliant. Thank you for that. I don't want to take credit for your work.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great to hear it reflected back though, because when it's going through here, it's like, I don't know what, it's just coming out. And then to hear it because you're listening, which is
and
great.
there is a structure, right? That like there really is a structure to how you show up and how you do it. Whether you realize that there's a structure, like that's what I'm looking for. Is like,
yeah, I know what I was going to say.
Okay, tell me.
No, about the starting your day. It's like, okay, if you didn't get it in the morning, you can always start your day over. You can always take that moment. You can always take that breath. So it doesn't matter if it's at 7 a.m. or at 2:00 p.m. And for any of those people who think they're better than because they wake up at the crack of dawn and they go to bed at 9, like, I'm so over you.
Me too.
It's great. Good for you. But
yes.
Well, you're eating lunch at 3:00. It's like, so what is it to you or whatever? Everyone's system and rhythm is different. So that was clearly that needed to get out of my body.
Please give people grace, like whatever their system is.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be this grandiose thing. It could just could be that. What's your intention? I work with this and she's not part of my workshop, but I always recommend her book. Someone, Kim Stanwood, and it's called The Technology of Intention. And it's all about intention setting. And when you set an intention, she suggests it should be in the present, it should be positive, and it should be qualitative. You can read more about it in her. It's a really easy book to read, but it's so powerful because that's also part of the presence thing. It's like, whoa, I'm here. What's my intention? It could be my intention is just to show up and listen and receive whatever is meant for me.
Mm-hmm.
It could be that simple.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're thinking about bringing humor into your work, how do you know that you've achieved like that? If that's a goal for you and whether or not that is actually a goal for you, I guess I should ask, is that a goal for you when you're to bringing humor into your work?
Well, it depends. I mean, yes, I'm like, my goal is to get 10 laughs per minute. That's so interesting. I don't think of it as a goal.
Okay. How do you think of it?
I'm trying to think too, like it's because now I'm like, oh, well, when I did stand up, of course. Yes.
Well, yes. Yeah.
Right. Like you're literally trying to make them laugh.
Yeah.
But with whether I'm speaking or and I'm doing red carpet interviews. Yes. It's always coming from a comedic standpoint, but it's not necessarily, that's also part of it. Not everybody wants to be like, this is hilarious. Like you have to, in my experience, read the room, know what's happening. And also it's, especially if you're a leader, right? And if you're the speaker for example, or you're coaching or, people are gathered listening to what you have to say. You want to make, it's not your responsibility to make them feel comfortable, but it's awfully helpful if you can, all goes back to listening, my God, of observing. It could also be with your eyes, right? That's the other, you can listen with your eyes too, weirdly, just observe, to what is this what's called for, kind of ninja style it. So I'm always going for levity no matter what, because for example, when I'm doing a workshop about confidence, this is learned, by the way, because I wasn't doing this confidence workshop till COVID. And now I'm like, oh, I'm broadening my speaking engagements. And next year, I want to really make that a much larger part of my business. And I'm still investigating exactly what my mission statement would be to be a keynote. So stay tuned. But the confidence stuff, it's no joke. If you're really talking about someone who doesn't want to turn their camera on or doesn't want to be seen, that's unpacking a lot of stuff. So it's could be what's the word? Not tricky, I guess, but you want to be gentle with it. So I think it's creating that safe environment that you can be trusted. So like anything, whether it's humor or not, you want the person that you're with to be able to trust you. And I don't know if you can teach that necessarily. Maybe there's things that, but a lot of it is, are you really there? Or like, do you have the person's best interest in mind? Or are you just all about you? Like if you're selling something, do they really need it?
Yeah.
That's just one silly example, I guess, because you're in sales. That's what came to mind. But
Yeah. Well, when I think about speakers and the speakers that get like the big laughs, like so I'd love your take on this. And this is not very NLP questions, but I'm kind of going off the rails here because I can, because it's my show.
Yeah.
What's your take on the person who says something and they expect a laugh and they give like a little
Pause.
Like they're waiting for the laugh of like, hey, this is where you laugh here. How do you feel about that from a place of humor?
You're not always going to get the laugh. I think sometimes when you're trying too hard, it's like, and then you don't get the laugh, you kind of look foolish. So anticipate, it's kind of a fine line. It's murky. Don't say it. I did not invent this. It was on a show years ago, but they took it from somewhere where it's like, don't ask for the laugh. Like if it's like, you did it great during rehearsal, but then when you did it, when there was a live audience, it fell. And because the girl was like, pass the butter. And then in the show, she was like, pass the butter. Like, so it was like, you be true to your word, be true to whatever the message is. Don't try to like make it funny. Does that make sense? Like, don't ask for the laugh. Express yourself with conviction or with humor or lightheartedness, whatever. Just be real true to the moment. And if it's meant to get a laugh, it will. And sure, like give yourself time. Cause I do remember when I would be on stage, cause I naturally talk quickly. I always have my entire life because this mind's like, blah, 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 blah. And that was one thing, like my father was always like, slow down. And I understand not everybody thinks like I do think very quickly. It goes fast. But I've also had to learn to slow down for other people because not everyone can keep up with that. And that was a big lesson for me. Two examples I can give of that. Doing stand-up, it was like, just take a pause, let them laugh, like in between your jokes or in between your stories or whatever, instead of trying to rush through everything. So it's again, back to being present, holding the space. I used to co-host a podcast many years ago with a comic named Jason Duty. We were the Brown Judy show. We talked about crap. It was a movement. And it was really fun. But he was like, you're talking so fast. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it threw off our communication until I realized I needed to slow down because he didn't. So yeah, but taking the pause, I mean, you can pause a little bit if you get a laugh every single time, but like, don't make it so Captain Obvious that like, here's where you guys laugh, because then if they don't, it'll come off maybe kind of cheesy.
It does. Yeah. I agree. I always feel like that's a little awkward.
Yeah.
My favorite moment, I will say, anytime I'm speaking in a group, if I'm the speaker, whether I'm on stage, whether I'm on a video call, whatever it is, when the whole room gives me a laugh, that like there's no better moment in my life work-wise than that moment. This is the absolute best moments. But I like for those moments to be unexpected for me. Like sometimes I'll say something I wasn't trying to be funny, but it will get a laugh, and that I'm so delighted by those moments. It's
the best.
The best.
It's the best.
Now, here's the other question that I want to ask you specifically, because as somebody who's teaching people around confidence and, all of the amazing work that you're doing, and also with your background, again, with your comedy background, is what do you think about, I guess there's two parts to my question. What do you think about, because you talked about creating safety in the room and to hold that space. I also am a huge believer in creating safety. So do you ever make any of your audience members the butt of the joke?
Yes. That's
Tell
it.
me more about that. No. She's like, that's all I'm saying, period.
That is all. And we do not talk anymore. And they don't follow me on Twitter. They're a bunch of no. Yes. Especially when I was doing red carpet interviews,
Mm-hmm.
because I know they could take it. You know what I mean? I've already done the warm up. I've already kind of created a rapport with this person. And thankfully I feel like I used to not give myself credit for any of this, you know, how like, no, don't look at me kind of thing, or someone will point it out to you. And I remember when I was taking the red carpet on the road, haha, but like to really do it try to make it as a business, I really had to look at what I do, which is can be hard when you're so close to it. And it's like you're saying, I love how you call it, it's like subconscious or
in NLP they say unconscious, but most people call it your subconscious.
Unconscious.
I've had somebody say to me one time, if you're unconscious, you're asleep or dead. I was like, well, okay.
Yeah, right. Unconscious. I'll go with it though. And my friend was like, you're really good at, we used to joke, I say, if there's a lineup of people, like I called myself a freak magnet, like that one person will want to talk to me. And I don't mean that in any kind of ego way, but I think it's because I'm pretty open. Like, I'm like, that's great. Like, what do you have to say? I've had to also learn like anything to bring that in a little bit because it can work for you. And then also it cannot be a huge energy waster. And that was like years in the learning, like in my 20s and we're out, they're like, he's gross. Like, what are you talking to him? We're leaving. Like, you know, like we're out like in a bar. And I'm like, but his story is so interesting. It's like, whatever. I was probably a few drinks in too. And anyway.
Everybody has a story and they become more interesting, I think, the more consumption of a beverage.
Yes, I guess so. Yeah. And then we saw the pictures the next day. I was like, what was I thinking? But anyway, off track here.
We were talking about making somebody the butt of the joke.
Yes. So it is important to read the room kind of thing, like I was saying before. And my friend was like, you're really good at, you know, talking to people. And I'm like, I'm just curious. I like to ask questions. She's like, no, there's something, I'm telling you, there's something that you do. So whatever that is, I'm like, okay, I disarm them in some kind of way. And it is that, like you also use the word safety, and it is creating that thing, but I also like to call it the fun zone. I'm like, welcome to the fun zone. And I have to say, because it's probably natural, but it's also lots of experience. There's some people who are like, oh my God, I don't want to be on camera. And they're the one that has the best story. And like, they kind of want to with a little bit of nudging. And then there's some people who are like, no, don't talk to me. And you're like, cool, man. There's a million other people who want to jump into the fun zone. You can go over there and be a snore. So then when I'm really like riffing with someone, and it's not like, I'm not mean though. When you say butt of joke, it's more like poking fun, teasing, because I'm not here to be mean or dark. And I don't think there's enough of that out there. And that's just never really been my style. I want people to feel after they're in my presence to walk away better or like feeling lighter, not like, oh my God, that was so rude, you know? So it's really, if they're going to play, but here's the other thing. I will always be willing to take the dive first. I'll always be willing to look the fool. So they know, so they can throw it right back at me. So if you're going to give it, you got to be able to take it. And I definitely grew up in a family where it was a lot of like jabs and teasing and, you know, not like bad stuff. Like I do it now to my nieces and nephews. So.
Right. Yeah. I grew up in that kind of a family too. There was a lot of teasing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think in the current climate, people would probably say like, that's not appropriate, you know, like some of it, but
yeah,
you know, I can definitely take it. And I can also dish it out when it comes to the teasing piece of it. And I like to be teased. I don't bring it into my work because I am really careful about, because I don't always know. Like if I'm teasing you, chances are I feel really, really comfortable in our relationship. I feel like there's that rapport that you had said that you're building something there. I love that.
And it's not for everybody. It's not for every environment too. Like,
right.
I don't know, like it's just my personal style and it's not always probably great.
I think
like as far as like when I had a million different day jobs when I lived in New York. And like, I remember working in a law firm and I was just like, but it was my thing, you know, it was just a day job. Not that I did my work and I showed up and they would always put me with like the people no one wanted to work for because I just was like, I'm out of here. Like I would do my work, I'd show up and I also know those people that don't really have much of a sense of humor, or maybe they do outside the office. I don't want to tear them down, but there's so much on the line and it's like such a serious zone and there's so much money and all of it. So it's like, I wasn't always like cracking, like whipping out my rubber chicken with like, the partners, but some of them were cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, there's a time and a place for everything. Yes. Every comedian has one.
I love it. Okay. So what do you think about in your work? And again, specifically kind of speaking to this confidence piece that you're teaching, self-deprecating humor. Yay, nay, depends.
Yeah. I mean, comedians do it all the time.
Yeah.
I make fun of myself all the time, but I think it's again, the fine line of being really talking terribly about yourself, really negative self-talk. I don't think that's good. Like always putting yourself down. I'm such an idiot, or I don't know what I'm doing. It's like, oh, ow, ooh, like that hurts my heart, like
right.
Love yourself. And then you can be a goofball.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'd rather someone be a lovable goofball. Yeah. It's so funny because I was talking to my aunt last night and she's amazing and she's a nun, whole other conversation. And
wow.
The best. Yes. I have two aunts that are nuns. One has since passed, but two of the best people ever. And Aunt Pat is hysterical and she's 88 years old. And she's like, I don't know who started it, but something like if we had a show, it would be like nutty and goofy and nutty. Like just like she's like, you're crazy. I'm like, I learned it from you, so it's a kind of a term of endearment, but like, so it's okay. But if you're, I have no problem with it. But yeah, some of like, as far as comedy can be really dark. And so I think I've exited out of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Life's too short.
I love it. Is there anything I haven't asked you about bringing humor into your work that you want to make sure that we get to?
Interesting. Well, I mean, it's funny. Like when I host Survey Says, which is really a blast, and it's team bonding, really, essentially, that's why people spend the money on it. It's entertainment, but it's really all about them. And it's myself, and I have a buddy. Well, he's a tech guy and also an incredible DJ. So DJ Black Rabbit, he's my sidekick too. Like we just have a wonderful rapport. So it's just a benefit on all ends. Like I need someone to do like the sounds and the music, but we also he chimes in with his little comments. And so he's like my Twitch. And doing those are really fun too. And it's all about getting people to participate. And and most of them have been on Zoom, although now we've done them live in person, which is awesome.
Yeah, but, sure.
Yeah. But just understanding like who really wants to play and who doesn't. And it's always more fun, even if it's like that one quiet person. And then it's like, sometimes they have the best one-liners, it's kind of accepting people for who they are, making everyone feel welcome. And not everyone is going to want to be like the center of attention. Yeah. And that's, because not everyone, there are introverts and there's extroverts. I think I have a little bit of both in me, believe it or not. And so, yeah, like kind of accepting everybody for where they're at. And so that can be utilized in any kind of situation, really. But if you know that there's someone, if you have the instinct that someone might want some encouragement to be involved or ask them more questions, just try it. Trust your instinct. And more times than not, it's right. Because then you might create this great connection, which is what that kind of activity is all about.
Okay. So again, I'm just going to comment on some of the takeaways. And again, there's just so much here, but it's absolutely okay to joke around and tease as long as you have built some rapport with the person and they're in the fun zone. So, that I think that it's important. And then this idea of read the room, pay attention to the audience. In NLP, we always say, take your cues from the other person, right? So that's kind of what I'm hearing from you too, is like, you really take your cues from the other person. And then if you get a sense that somebody just maybe needs a little bit of encouragement, like be willing to extend yourself in that way. Trust your instincts and see what happens. And
then if they're not, move on.
Yeah.
Because it's not your responsibility at the end of the day.
So good. All right. This is amazing. All right. So as we wrap up today, I always have like hopefully some interesting questions about you for the audience. So one of the questions, the little something extra I'd love to ask you is, what's something that brings you extreme pleasure or joy?
I would say hanging out with my little nieces and nephews. That's just like one of my favorite things. And yeah, it's great because they just worship the ground I walk on.
I have no doubt. I have no
No,
doubt.
I mean, it's just such a fun time. And also, besides that, of course, like I met them, I surprised them the other day at a restaurant. I was like, yeah, Erin. I mean, that just feels so good, right?
Yeah.
Like for anyone, for your heart. And of course your big ego, but it's just so like, just to see their faces and their joy is fun, but just regardless of that, just hanging out with them. It's like, cause I think we all have a giant kid inside of us. And I definitely am really in touch with mine, which is part of the reason I think I am playful. And I love being with them really puts me in that space too, of just being present with them, whatever they're playing, whether it's a card game or Legos or we're running around outside. And just making jokes. And it's just, I don't know, it's precious. So that really gives me a ton of happiness. Yeah.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
What is something people might be surprised to learn about you?
Ooh. Oh my gosh. I don't know. That's a tough one. Surprised. I was the space cadet of my high school class. I don't know. Maybe.
What does that mean? You were the space cadet?
I
Like you
don't
went to Space
know.
Academy, or you were like spacey?
Yeah, like an airhead.
Oh my
Which
gosh.
was totally baloney. But
Yeah, I don't believe that to be true.
no. Yeah, I don't know. Surprised. What could be another surprise? I don't know.
Do you have a special skill that we wouldn't know about unless you told us? I mean, obviously you've got the comedy chops.
Yeah.
You've got that.
Make really
like,
good smoothies, you guys.
there you go. Here you go. What's your favorite kind of smoothie?
I do this blueberry spinach. Did I lose you at spinach?
No.
Blueberry, spinach, banana, hemp seeds, almond butter, and almond milk with some ice blended up. It's delicious. It's alkaline. It's great.
Love it. Perfect.
Yeah.
What is something exciting going on in your business right now?
Doing this podcast. Oh my God. I would say I've had a couple big meetings lately. Haven't booked all these jobs. So that's a little,
They're coming. I can help you
they
with
are
that.
coming. I would love that. What's exciting? I feel like I'm excited about going into the bigger pool of speaking next year.
I love this for you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
And I feel like I love doing survey says it's great. Doing the red carpet live, it's back, but it's also, I'm being totally blunt. So this is going to be on your podcast or not.
It will, unless you tell me to cut it.
No, I just, I know myself very well. And I think we talked about it, human design. I won't get into the whole thing, but just knowing like hustling I'm not energetically really built to like hustle and push. It's really showing up and drawing people in. Of course, I have to be out there. I have to be seen. People to want to draw me in. But yeah, I will say in all honesty, it has been a slower month for the holiday season, which the past couple of years has been really great. So don't know what that's all about. And when I try to push, I can only do it a little bit because then I'm like, this doesn't really feel good. This doesn't feel authentic. And then I kind of surrender to God or the universe. I'm like, okay, well, show me what's exciting. And then it's the speaking thing keeps coming back. And that's the one thing right now that's in business anyway, is giving me like little exciting jitters. And so I've been kind of reading a lot about that and listening to different people and networking in that pool, because I feel like, 2023 is right around the corner and I want to be ready to rock. And it's also a new pool and I like a challenge. I'm an improviser. So I don't know if I get bored easily, but it's just like, let me do something else.
Yeah.
Let me see let me try this hat on. So yeah, that's what's exciting for me right now. business.
That is exciting. And I can see you on the big stages as the keynote speaker for sure. For sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. So how can somebody listening right now get in touch with you? Maybe they have an event coming and they need an amazing speaker, or they need some confidence coaching. What's the best way? That's right.
MC, I will work the crowd like nobody's business. That's the other thing I like sometimes forget to tell people, although because I feel like it's all built in, but yeah, even if at these conferences, if you need that person, some people don't like to do that job or have to be the ginger in between each presentation, and talk to the crowd. Like I thrive on that because it's me just doing my thing on a bigger scale. So yeah, shameless plug, but you can go to my website. It is Hot Red Carpet, spelled exactly as you would think, .com. And that's where you'll find me. You can email me there. You can book a free consultation call. We can get to know each other. And if nothing happens out of it other than a lovely conversation or a horrific conversation, so be it. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I know that about myself. None of us are, right? That would be boring.
Yeah.
But the ones that I'm a really good cup of tea. So.
Yeah.
And I'm on social media. You can find me on LinkedIn, Erin Brown, Hot Red Carpet, Instagram, it's at Hot Red Carpet, Twitter at Hot Red Carpet, but it's all on my website. So it's pretty easy to navigate. And I just redid it. So I'm excited about that.
So go check her out, go connect with her. She's a lovely, lovely person in addition to being clever and funny, which are two of my favorite things.
I jumped off a bridge. Is that surprising to people? I feel like that.
Yeah. What do you mean you jumped off a bridge? You're still here. What's the story about that?
It was a really dark day. The Hudson River was roaring. It was years ago. I bungee jumped off a bridge. I was going to say that as my original answer.
That's a good answer.
It was good. It was in Quito in Ecuador. And it was so shady. It was like two dudes with a clip and a cord. And we're like, do you want to jump off a bridge? And I literally now can say, if, the answer to the question, if all your friends were jumping off a bridge, would you? Hell yeah.
Perfect. It's a perfect way for us to exit. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. For you listener, thank you for listening. I hope you got some great little takeaways and nuggets. I'd love to hear what your biggest takeaway is. So if you want to tag me and tag Erin on social media and acknowledge her and give her some love, please do that. And thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for listening to Sales Maven. Visit us online at yoursalesmaven.com/maven for more resources to boost your confidence and skills.